I want you to think back to the summer of 2023. The Renaissance tour is in full effect. We're getting show night after night, new looks, iconic choreography, and special guest appearances from the legend, the icon, and Grammy Award-winning artist, Miss Blue Ivy Carter. Throughout the show's run, we saw everybody and their mother make an appearance. Movie stars, a US Vice President, and even royals were in attendance. It was by the 7th show of the tour in Paris where we began to really see this trend of celebrities appearing in the crowd really take place. On that night, we saw stars such as Natalie Portman and Megan Thee Stallion in the crowd. But it was one family in particular who would continue to make recurring guest appearances in the crowd that would make headlines that night. Kylie and Kris Jenner were spotted in the crowd for the first of multiple shows they would go on to attend. And if you're anything like me, you would have been under the impression that both parties involved didn't mess with each other like that, especially due to Beyonce and her alleged dislike for the Kardashians. Which is why when I saw Kim, Kylie and Kris attend multiple shows, I thought, oh. Is this another thing that the internet has made up and run with over the years? Because you know the internet loves to lie to push their own agenda, and Beyonce doesn't spend every spare moment of hers scrolling through Twitter looking for tweets to clap back at. This was likely never going to get a response from her, ergo allowing people to run with this narrative for years. So that got me thinking, is there more to this story that we don't know? Is there more that meets the eye? Welcome to the Romario channel. Today, we're going to explore the alleged beef between Kim Kardashian and Beyonce, taking a look at the relationship, how it seemingly evolved over the years, and why their husbands have played a huge role in the dynamics of their relationship. So grab a snack, a glass of water, something a little stronger, because this is the full story behind the beef of Beyonce and Kim Kardashian. To understand the significance of why there was an emphasis on any form of friendship between the pair, we need to take a look at some of the things they had in common. They were women of a similar age, they were arguably two of the most influential women of the 2010s, and their husbands just so happened to be two of the biggest rappers of all time, who also happened to be best friends. So, for a quick backstory of the men, JayZ and Kanye met in the year 2000. Jay had solidified himself as one of the best artists in the game at that point, and Kanye was on the rise, producing beats for other artists. Dame Dash, who co-founded Rockefeller Records alongside Jay, heard Kanye's beat-making skills and ensured that they would work together, leading him to produce some songs on JayZ's albums, The Dynasty, Rock La Familia, and The Blueprints. The pair remained friends, becoming a dynamic duo of sorts in the industry, continuing to work together on songs such as Izzo, Encore, and Run This Town. Their strong working relationship, as well as the friendship they built over the years, led them to work on their joint album, Watch the Throne. Throughout this time in their personal lives, JayZ would go on to marry Beyonce. Both stars held a great level of fame and success individually, which led them to become one of Hollywood's biggest power couples. Despite her being the more famous of the two, they were seen as equally matched when they came together. Because for her to marry someone more famous, she would have likely had to marry a royal or something, and the idea of her being with someone like William and enduring everything that Meghan went through, and then also never getting songs like Crazy in Love, Deja Vu, Bonnie and Clyde, yeah, no thanks. We'll stick with JayZ. Yeah, we'll stick with JayZ. Anywho, around the time of creating Watch the Throne, Kanye would get into a relationship with reality star Kim Kardashian. While she was nowhere near as famous as the other three mentioned at the time, her star was definitely on the rise. She knew how to generate buzz like no other, and being linked to one of the biggest rappers at the time would only help elevate her star power. With Beyonce, JayZ, Kanye West, and Kim Kardashian all being linked together, many thought it would be amazing to see these two power couples hang out, go to events, and really become like a form of couple goals that we can follow. However, it didn't exactly pan out like this. There were already reports that before Kim and Kanye got together, Beyonce didn't really like Kim, with sources stating that Beyonce hates what Kim stands for and found it to be too cheesy. Though this was reported by a celebrity insider, so do take it with a pinch of salt. Celebrity tea is spilled daily, and 9 times out of 10, it ain't true. After Kim and Kanye got together in 2012, Bey and Kim quickly squashed any rumours of them potentially feuding when they were spotted together on the Watch the Throne tour later that year. Not only were they spotted on tour together, they were spotted here in the UK in the highly controversial city of Birmingham, which is about an hour or so away from me. So in 2012, 4 of the biggest names in the industry were an hour away from me. And nobody thought to hit me up? Nobody thought to hit me up on the phone? Not a call, not a text, nothing? Oh, okay then, I see you. Well, obviously I don't, because they were an hour away from me and they didn't hit a brother up and adopt me, even though, you know, they were all on the way to becoming billionaires, but no. But you know what? This isn't about me. So let's continue with the story. After they were spotted together, many articles had the same idea and began questioning whether the two were going to become besties. The Kardashians were arguably about to hit their peak, which would last for the remainder of the decade. And Beyonce, well, she was Beyonce.
You are Beyonce. And
she could be friends with the cleaning lady and it would still make front page news. But having two of the biggest draws in Hollywood become best friends, that's the type of spectacle that the media could only dream of. The following month at the BET Awards, rumours of their feud would become a focal point for many as the couples were seated next to each other in the front row, though Beyonce and Kim were separated by their men, which led to speculation that the pair may not be getting along. But wait a minute, the wife of JayZ and the girlfriend of Kanye West are not sitting together? But the friends of 10 plus years are? Oh no. They couldn't possibly tolerate each other if they aren't sitting directly next to each other and being separated by their men. Something must be going down behind the scenes. So yeah, after the award show, many news outlets began to report that the two were officially feuding after not being sat together at the award show. Articles from around that time kept pointing out how Kim felt out of her depth being at the BET Awards, tweeting about Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which was airing during the same time as the award show, and how when she was at the show, she was cozying up to Nicki Minaj, who she was sat beside, instead of interacting with Beyonce. And although Bey and Kim would later interact that night, many speculated about how authentic the interaction between the pair was. And although I've never personally been to any award shows, since Kanye and Beyonce didn't want to adopt me, I've seen many on TV. And it's not like these award shows are really built for much social interaction between the guests. Maybe a photo op here and there, but there's constantly stuff going on, whether it's someone presenting and doing a bit on stage, an award being handed out, or a performance from an artist. So if Bey and Kim did want to interact, but if they did that during someone's performance or when someone was being handed an award, they would have probably been scrutinised for that too, so it's not like they would have been able to win either way. In September, at JayZ Made in America festival, feud rumours would only be taken up a notch, as unlike the Watch the Throne tour, the women weren't spotted together at all during the entire weekend, even when the men took to the stage, with it being alleged that they purposely stood on opposite sides of the stage when Jay and Kanye performed at the event, which suggests that there was no chance in hell that they were going to become friends. During the event, the usually reserved Beyonce was seen having a good time, drink in hand, partying the entire weekend away, while the usually spotlight-loving Kim was barely photographed at all. After the festival, reports came out that Beyonce was making Kim feel really uncomfortable the entire time, which led her to spend most of her time backstage with good friend Jonathan Shaban, only really interacting with him and Kanye. Anyway, a few days later, reports of the feud between the two women were shut down, as TMZ stated that sources close to Beyonce's camp claimed there was no bad blood between them. In fact, it was quite the opposite. They were together watching the men as they took to the stage, and there's a lot of love between them, as they share many of the same interests such as fashion and family, which gives them a lot to talk about. Whether this actually came from Beyonce's camp or not, I don't know. However, I do think that Beyonce would want to shut down any feud rumours, especially as they're painting her out to be the villain in the situation. So I do think that it is plausible that she shut down any rumours before they began to take on a life of their own, by painting a more realistic depiction of what the pair's relationship actually looked like. It seemed like a tactic to stop things escalating any further before it could create a fracture in the potential friendship that they're building. Now we enter 2013. Kim starts the year by shutting down any potential feud rumours with Beyonce. In an interview with Sway in the Morning, she praises Beyonce and the relationship they have, stating they're on good terms and is unsure where the rumours of their feud come from.
That is so not true. Like, she couldn't be the sweetest person. Seriously, one of the sweetest people I've ever met. She's so sweet. I have no idea where these things come from. It's, I don't know why people, I think they just like to make up these feuds. It's more interesting.
Shortly before this interview took place, Kim announced that she was expecting her first child with Kanye. This would be another point of contention in the alleged beef between Kim and Bey, and we'd see this play out a bit throughout 2013. A few months later in the early summer, Kim had a baby shower to celebrate the upcoming birth of her first child. It was a star-studded event which included famous friends and family. This upcoming baby shower led many to speculate as to whether Beyonce would make an appearance or not, especially since Beyonce had her first child a year prior. There was a new budding friendship between Kim and Beyonce, and their husbands are best friends. So it just made sense to the public, right? Well, when Beyonce didn't attend the event, it gave many the opportunity to reignite the feud rumours between the pair, and so Beyonce vs Kim Kardashian was officially undergo once again. On the surface, many saw this as a direct sign that the women did not like each other nor mess with each other like that. More specifically, that Beyonce didn't mess with Kim. And despite receiving an invitation to the baby shower, her not going was the ultimate FU to Kim. However, upon looking into it, it turned out that Beyonce was on tour during the time of the baby shower, with the tour concluding in London on June 1st and the baby shower taking place on June 2nd in Los Angeles. I'm sure after being on tour for 2 months, completing 30 shows, Beyonce didn't want to rush back to the States to attend the baby shower, instead just wanting to spend time with her husband and her child. In addition to that, the baby shower was being filmed for Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and it's likely that Beyonce didn't really want to be a part of that and film for the show. As a result, I can definitely see her keeping her distance when the cameras are around. Despite what you may think, Beyonce didn't completely ignore Kim's baby celebrations though. She reportedly gifted Kim and Kanye a Swarovski crystal-studded high chair, which was said to be around £9,000, which is insane to me. However, Beyonce and JayZ supposedly had the same one for Blue Ivy when she was born, because of course they did. Why wouldn't you spend £9,000 on a high chair when your net worth is in the hundreds of millions of pounds at this point? While that amount of money isn't significant to the Carters, gifting someone you don't like something of that magnitude seems a bit outrageous, right? Shortly after, Kim gives birth to North. The focus shifts away from any alleged feud between the two, and instead focuses more on the personal lives of the women. Kim becoming a first-time mother, how she's going to raise her, and when we'll get the first picture of her, while Beyonce spends her summer resuming her Mrs. Carter World Tour, embarking on the North American leg, and partaking in a couple of festivals towards the end of the summer in England and the US. In October, a huge moment is about to take place in the lives of Kim and Kanye. They're about to get engaged on Kim's 33rd birthday. Kanye rented AT&T Park, a baseball stadium in San Francisco, to pop the question with a 15-carat ring by Lorraine Schwartz. The engagement was topped with a 50-piece orchestra and the video board reading, "Please marry me." Kanye had invited many of the couple's close family and friends, including the Kardashian sisters and Rachel Roy, to surprise Kim. They watched on as the pair got engaged and joined them to celebrate with a party afterwards. Though there were 2 noticeable absences in the form of Beyonce and JayZ, missing yet another milestone in Kanye's life. And of course, this led to more speculation about Kim and Beyonce not really liking each other. However, upon further research, there was a valid reason for them not to be at the event. With Beyonce not only being on the 5th leg of the Mrs. Carter World Tour at the time, but she was on the whole other side of the world in Australia, meaning even if she did want to attend, it was likely impossible for her to go, considering she was in between tour dates at the time. As for JayZ, yeah, he probably could have gone, however I'm sure he wanted to be there for his wife and his daughter during the time. Plus, the engagement was being filmed for Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and like Beyonce, I can imagine that JayZ really doesn't want any part of the show, and therefore just avoids the cameras when they're around. The next interaction we'd have between Beyonce and Kim would be the following year in 2014. In a chance meeting at the dermatologist in Beverly Hills, they ran into each other and had a brief interaction where they allegedly talked about children and motherhood. Many outlets reported that while on the surface the interaction seemed relatively friendly, that wasn't the case at all. Instead, Kim seemed overly eager to interact with Bey, while Bey really wasn't having any of it and couldn't care less about the Kardashian. These reports imply something that we've already seen in the pair's relationship so far and we would only continue to see more of in the future. The friendship wouldn't happen because of Kim's eagerness to befriend Beyonce due to her status. Or at least, that's what people thought. While Beyonce just tolerates her because of the friendship that their husbands have. The biggest indicator to many that there was no friendship between the pair came just a few months later at the wedding of Kim and Kanye. Kanye had an extravagant wedding in Florence, Italy. The event took place at Forte di Belvedere and included 200 guests. The wedding featured a mixture of celebrities, from fashion giant Andre Leontali to rappers such as Tyga and his model girlfriend Blac Chyna, and fashion girly Rachel Roy. They had Andre Bocelli perform as Kim walked down the aisle, but the all-star event was just missing one thing. Or should I say 2, Kanye's best friend and his wife. You see, just days before the ceremony, after much speculation about whether Beyonce and JayZ would actually attend the wedding, the Daily Mail had reported that it was confirmed that JayZ would be the best man at Kanye's wedding. The article stated that they were skeptical to attend the wedding, more so because of the cameras being present for the show. But after Kim tweeted they wouldn't be filming the actual wedding, it erased any reluctance the couple may have been experiencing about attending the wedding. So on the day of the wedding, when Beyonce shared a picture of herself pouting in braids, the selfie she posted also gave us this iconic meme. It led many to wonder whether the rumours of the feud was real after all, despite the many attempts from both parties trying to shut them down. Though, later that day, Bey posted a picture of Kim, Kanye and North from the Vogue photo shoot, wishing the couple all the best on their big day, squashing any further narratives about the two feuding and seemingly with the hope of putting the attention back on the wedding instead of the selfie that she posted. While many have seen this day as official confirmation that there's bad blood between the couples, with Kanye himself later referencing that this was something he was unhappy about and later stated that it became a point of contention in the pair's friendship. However, with hindsight, the story becomes a lot more nuanced than first thought, but we'll get into that a bit later on. We'd have no more interactions between the couples until 2015. At the beginning of the year, it was reported that the famous couples went on a double date in Hollywood after Beyonce and JayZ had attended a basketball game earlier that evening. This outing cut short any speculation that there was bad blood between the couples, with reports stating that they all seemed to be in high spirits during the 2-hour dinner. Not having got together for anything specific, but just to link up while Jay and Bey were in town, you know, as friends do. Beyonce and Kim would be seen together a couple months later at the season 1 JayZ fashion show during New York Fashion Week, where they sat next to each other in the front row. While there was seemingly no interaction between the pair, this could have likely been due to Kim's focus being entirely on North, who was acting up and crying throughout the show. With all the lights, people and noise, the poor baby was probably so confused about what was going on around her and having sensory overload from being wrapped up in all the chaos. After the fashion show, Beyonce took to Instagram to share a picture of herself, Kim and North from the event, where she captioned the photo, "Beautiful baby North." While many laughed at the potential shade in her not acknowledging Kim, it seems clear that the reports early in their friendship about discussions surrounding families and motherhood were amplified here. With Bey having her first child shortly after they came into each other's lives, it's likely that Kim expressed her desire to have a child of her own one day, and so for Beyonce to go out of her way to post a picture of the three of them highlighting her daughter, it probably means more to Kim than Beyonce making the post on Instagram dedicating her love to her. I think once you get to a certain point in your life and you're secure in the relationships you have with other people and you know at the core what the friendship is actually like, all that other stuff is unnecessary. But I digress. A month later, they would reunite at the 57th Grammy Awards ceremony. Beyonce was nominated for several Grammys after her surprise, game-changing self-titled album dropped at the end of 2013, of which she ended up taking home 3 awards, including Best R&B Song and Best R&B Performance for Drunk in Love featuring JayZ. Another classic that we wouldn't have if they didn't get together. Or maybe we would have. But maybe instead of JayZ being the love interest in the video, it would have been Prince William, you know? Who wouldn't want to see Prince William in his video vixen era? No, I can't. He has the sex appeal of a lamppost. He looks like he dances worse than Dua Lipa in that one video, and is like Will from The In-Betweeners in bed. No 10s across the boards, just L's. That night, Beyonce and Kim were pictured alongside Kanye, John Legend, and John Legend's wife, Chrissy Teigen, where everybody seemed to be enjoying each other's company. Now as we enter 2016, this is where things really get interesting between the couples. Between Beyonce releasing her very revealing 6th studio album Lemonade, and Kanye releasing The Life of Pablo, which was followed up by a highly controversial tour, in addition to Kim's kidnapping in Paris. In February, Kanye West released his 7th studio album, The Life of Pablo. On the track St. Pablo, Kanye samples Where I'm From, taken from JayZ's 1997 album In My Lifetime, Volume 1. By sampling Jay on the track, it indicates things are good between them, as Jay would need to clear the song in order for Kanye to use it. And given that we saw them together throughout 2015, all seems to be good between the Carter Wests. And in April of that year, Beyonce releases her visual album, Lemonade. The album broke the internet as she discussed being a black woman in America and opening up in a way unlike before. But the main talking points came as she opened up about infidelity in a marriage with JayZ, and one line in particular taking the internet by storm. You only want me when I'm not there. You better call Becky with the good hair. So let's rewind for a quick second and explore how Lemonade has a role in this story and how it helps to fill in the gaps in the potential feud between the Carter Wests. Around 2014, things got very messy for Beyonce and JayZ. You see, just weeks before Kim Ye's wedding, the pair were involved in the infamous elevator incident, where Beyonce's sister Solange attacked JayZ and the footage was released for the whole world to see. The alleged reasoning for this altercation stemmed from an affair that Beyonce opens up about on Lemonade. And while the identity of Becky hasn't been released, it's been widely speculated to be fashion designer Rachel Roy. Rachel, who's been good friends with Kim for many years, was at all the important events during her relationship with Kanye. Hence, why I kept name dropping her. You see that foreshadowing? I could really go on to become a New York Times bestseller if I really wanted to. Charles Dickens, eat your heart out. I'm coming for the throne. Is he a New York Times bestseller? Anyway, this led many to wonder if this was the reason the Carters skipped out on so many events in Kanye's life. JayZ himself would later reveal that issues in the marriage was part of the reason why the couple didn't attend the wedding to begin with. On his joint album with Beyonce, Everything Is Love, released in 2018, he raps on the song Friends, "I ain't going to nobody nothing when me and my wife beefing. I don't care if the house on fire, I ain't leaving. Ty take care of my kids after he done grieving, and if y'all don't understand that, we ain't meant to be friends." So you see, around the time of the Kanye wedding, Beyonce and JayZ were going through their own stuff behind the scenes. And rather than wanting to go and celebrate Kim and Kanye, their main goal was to ensure that they could rebuild the union which seemed to be crumbling down around them. And thankfully, they were able to do that. And since neither JayZ nor Beyonce have come out to confirm or deny whether Rachel was in fact Becky or not, we can't say for certain whether or not Rachel's presence did play a role in them not attending the events, but we do know that their own marital issues did play a part in that. However, if it's true and it does turn out that Rachel is Becky, it does make a lot of sense as to why JayZ nor Beyonce attended any of the events in the run-up to Kanye's wedding, because we're not too certain on when the affair did take place, because for all we know, it could have taken place as far back as 2013-2012. Regardless, the couples all seem to be on good terms, as they would reunite a few months later at Beyonce's VMAs after party. A photo was shared which featured Beyonce, JayZ, Diddy, Cassie, Kim and Kanye, along with other guests where they all seemed to be in good spirits. According to E, they were celebrating Beyonce's video of the year win for Formation, as well as her now legendary VMAs performance, in addition to Kanye debuting his video for Feud, which starred Teyana Taylor and will become a moment online as people praised Teyana for how great she looks in the video. The famous couples reportedly spent the night enjoying great conversation, discussing family dynamics, and really coming together to celebrate the shared love that they have for each other. Just a couple months later, however, an incident would take place which completely changed the friendship between Jay and Kanye for a while. On October 3rd, Kim Kardashian was robbed in Paris. However, this wasn't your usual robbery. 5 armed men came into the hotel where Kim was staying, handcuffed the concierge, and forced him to take him to her room. From here, they tied her up, put her in the bathtub, and robbed all of her jewellery. And later, 12 men would be arrested and charged in connection to the crime. From here, things began to take a turn for the worse, and we ultimately would begin to see the cracks in the friendship of Jay and Kanye. You see, by this point, Kanye had officially started his St. Pablo tour. A few weeks after the robbery, midway through his Seattle show, he had a few things to get off his chest. During his rant, he expressed his frustration in Jay calling to check on Kim instead of coming to see how they were doing. And he also expressed his frustration about how they've got kids similar age, yet none of them have ever played together before. A month later, during his show in Sacramento, he shows up to the stage 90 minutes late, performs for 15 minutes, before he descends on yet another rant regarding JayZ and Beyonce. This is where he claims that Beyonce only agreed to do the VMAs performance if she won the Video of the Year award, beating out him and Drake. This is followed up by him addressing Jay, where he states he's been sent to share his truth, even at the risk of his own safety. He implies that something bad might happen if he speaks up, but he doesn't care, he just wants Jay to call him so they can address their issues. And then from here he goes on a rant about his support for Donald Trump and how if Hillary wins the election it's clearly rigged and some other tinfoil hat nonsense. Far-right rhetoric that we don't care about. And while I'm no expert, whenever he seems to be ranting like this, going off in a series of tweets, it seems to me as though he's going through a manic episode and or not taking his medication. It's likely that he wouldn't say or do these types of things if he was in his right state of mind, but that's no excuse for his behaviour, as his words and his actions have real life consequences for these people who he called his friends. Anyway, let's shift our focus back to Kim and Beyonce. While the feud between Jay and Kanye continued throughout 2017, with Jay releasing his album 444, which featured a response to Kanye on the songs Kill JayZ and Bam, which is one of my personal favourites from the album. In June of that year, Beyonce gave birth to twins Sir and Rumi, which officially made the Carters a family of 5. A month later, there were reports that Kim gifted Beyonce makeup from her KKW beauty line. These products were gifted in a gold box worth around $150k, alongside some clothing for her children, Blue Ivy included, from the clothing line that she shared with Kanye. Though it was later claimed that Beyonce gave these gifts away to nurses at the hospital, in hopes that nobody would find out that she repurposed the gifts from Kim. Though from what I found, these claims came from MSN, so you know, a hugely reliable source when it comes to celebrity news. But seriously? MSN? Are we in 2005? How are they still in business and why are people citing them like they're a credible source? Either way, anytime the internet smells any tension between Beyonce and Kim, they're going to take it and run. which is exactly what they did with this information. However, a few days later, a source from Beyonce's camp rejected these claims, stating that they were untrue, and while there may be some tension between Jay and Kanye, Bey and Kim are not getting involved and are staying out of any of the drama. The next time we see the pair together would be in November at mutual friend Serena Williams' wedding. In the picture, they're standing on opposite sides of Kelly Rowland and her husband Tim Weatherspoon. I wonder if he's related to the family of the iconic British establishment of fine dining and sophisticated drinks. Probably not. They are clearly celebrating the happy couple alongside others such as Lala Anthony, where they all stood up, smiling and clapping. E! News reported that this was the first time they'd come face to face since the falling out of their husbands, but they remained cordial and were spotted at the bar, ordering a glass of champagne, engaging in conversation with each other. Which is nice because, despite their husbands feuding, it really shows what type of women they are, that they could be mature and neutral regardless of the chaos that was happening in their personal lives. And by this point, they've known each other for at least 5 years, so it's nice to know that they've become friendly, even if they're not best friends. Over the next few months, we really didn't get any updates from Bey, Kim, Jay and Kanye. There was no major feud updates or rumours or anything like that. That was until April of 2018, when JayZ was a guest on David Letterman's Netflix show, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, where he shares positive sentiments about Kanye. And when asked whether or not the pair were friends, he describes them as being more than just a friend, him being more like a brother, and states that just like brothers, sometimes you go through things. Which implies to me that the two had made up behind the scenes, and if they hadn't made up, they were at least working on their relationship to get to a better place. The next month, Kanye does an interview with Charlamagne the God where he reveals the root of the problem with JayZ, which stems from a bad business deal in regards to Tidal. Tidal is a streaming service that was brought by Jay. He got Kanye to release his The Life of Pablo album exclusively on there, and later Ye claimed that Tidal owed him $3 million and threatened to leave Tidal because of this. Jay then allegedly threatened to sue Kanye if he does for breach of contract, and the whole thing got very messy, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But he does state later in the interview that the Carters missing his wedding really did solidify issues between him and Jay. He says that them not attending left him hurt, and while he understands they were having marital issues of their own, he doesn't believe that should have been enough for them to miss his wedding, since they're like family. And when he puts it like that, I can definitely understand why he may have some animosity towards Jay, because despite there being marital issues with Bey, he could have at least come alone to show solidarity to his friend. However, like I said earlier, if Rachel Roy was Becky, and this was the woman who he did have an affair with, then again, it does make sense as to why he wouldn't go. But then this is something I feel like he should have expressed to Kanye. I feel like the whole thing was a big misunderstanding, and had they had more open dialogue and some open communication, they really could have, the whole thing could have been avoided. And since nobody's really spoken about how things went down, we don't know that Jay didn't share these things with Kanye, because for all we know, Kanye could have had tunnel vision and not really understood why they didn't attend to begin with. Or maybe it could have been that Jay didn't really go into too much detail, because we kind of know what Kanye's like, especially when it comes to sharing things that should have been private. It could have been a fear of his that he might have said something later down the line, which, to be fair, is a valid concern. Their next interaction, and I use the term interaction very loosely, would be in September of 2018, where Kim, her sister Courtney, and former friend and Real Housewives of Miami star Larsa Pippen went to attend Jay and Bey's On the Run Tour 2 concerts. A tour that I attended to, which was both my first Beyonce and JayZ concert, and it's also where I got this t-shirt from. And they documented their entire time on Instagram stories, and from what I could tell, they had the time of their lives. And since I was also there, not at the same show, but also attended the tour, I know that they had an amazing time, because it was an amazing concert. It's Beyonce and JayZ. Like, you really can't get much better than that. Aside from the odd article here or there trying to push the narrative that Bey and Kim didn't like each other, most of the time they had no receipts or anything to provide any substance. We wouldn't get any interaction between them until the end of the following year. In December of 2019, Diddy hosted his 50th birthday party. It was a star-studded event with the who's who of Hollywood in attendance, with both the Carters and the West making an appearance at the party. While we didn't get any pictures of Kim and Bey together that night, we did get a picture of Jay and Kanye clearly looking excited to see each other. And from this, I can imagine because the husbands were in a good place, they were probably engaging in conversations throughout the night and hanging out. Ergo, the women were probably hanging out together too, even if it was just in small doses. Because while there were a few photos from the event, I can imagine that a lot went down that was documented or undocumented, but it just wasn't shared publicly. Here's where I think things took a turn in their relationship, at least publicly. While they've been cozy in photos over the years together, it's safe to say that they've probably not had the closest friendship. Which is fine, because I feel like Not everybody you meet in life is going to be your best friend or even your close friend, regardless of how close in proximity you are with each other. Whether you work together or an association through your partner's friend, it doesn't guarantee that you are going to become best friends with that person. A month after Diddy's party in January of 2020, Beyonce started to send out PR boxes for her brand, Ivy Park, with stars such as Reese Witherspoon and Yara Shahidi receiving boxes and posting them on social media. Many fans got online to acknowledge that one star in particular hadn't posted anything yet. Kim K, who was known for posting most of her life online, hadn't shared herself rocking Ivy Park yet, which led many to speculate that Bey hadn't gifted Kim a PR box, ultimately solidifying the feud in the eyes of the public. However, about a week later, Kim K posted a picture of herself rocking Ivy Park, captioning the photo, and congratulating Bey and Adidas on the collection. This indicates that she probably did receive the PR box around the same time as everybody else did, but she was just too busy to post anything at the time. Because despite what people may think of her and how thirsty she is for a Bey cosign, you have to realise she was a mother of four around this point, so posting a picture in some Ivy Park just because it was Beyonce's probably wasn't at the top of her priority list. And again, this highlights to me that there was no bad blood between the women. And that people on the internet read into things just a little too much, because clearly everything's not what it seems. They're businesswomen after all, and if we're to believe what Kanye says, which is that Bey actually has a picture of Kim in her studio because she admires her business ethics so much, then they do respect each other in that sense. And regardless of what people think, social media is the Kardashians' playground. Like, they know how to use that to their advantage. They know how to market themselves, they know how to get their names out there, and with Beyonce sending these PR boxes to celebrities for them to post on social media and not including Kim, just doesn't make sense to me. With Beyonce sending out PR boxes to celebrities for them to post on social media, creating buzz for the upcoming release, and not sending any PR to Kim, just doesn't make any sense to me. Especially because if she does send PR to Kim and Kim does post it, it's evidently going to make headlines because people expect them to be feuding, but this indicates that they're not, so people are like intrigued by their relationship. So while I do believe the move was strategic, because let's be real, the Carters didn't become billionaires by spending all their time on social media being messy, they're real business people, and sometimes business people have to play the game, and whether or not she did like the Kardashians, it's a smart move on her part to include her in the PR campaign. The next crossover we'd get is when we saw images of Kim attending Beyonce and JayZ's 2020 after party the following month alongside her husband and sisters Kourtney, Khloe and Kylie. The Kardashian, Jenner, West clan attended their exclusive party at Chateau Marmont in West Hollywood. It took place during the Oscars after party and was alleged to be a Houston, Brooklyn themed party paying homage to their hometowns. While guests did dress up formally, apparently the vibe inside was real chill. They played games and had the place feel like a dive bar, and they were treated to a performance of Beyonce performing Brown Skin Girl from the 2019 Lion King soundtrack, Black is King. With the attendees being other high profile stars such as Rihanna, Jessica Alba and John Legend. Inviting the whole Kardashian-Jenner clan to an intimate party seems to me like maybe, just maybe, they could be friends? Maybe the Carters do like them more than the public would like to believe? But hey, what do I know? You don't have to walk with me just yet. But like I said, it seems from around this time up until present day, there seems to be some sort of shift in the relationship. So let's continue and you can form your own opinions then. Following this, we didn't get any interaction between the families for a while. Probably due to a little global event that took place shortly after February of 2020, which made it mandatory for people to stay at home. But that was 4 years ago and my memory's a little foggy. And with all this free time, people were rediscovering old interests, finding new hobbies. And speaking of new hobbies, Beyonce's new hobby seems to be turning her official website into a birthday blog. She'd post baby photos of celebrities wishing them a happy birthday, and it became a bit of a joke on Twitter specifically. I don't really know about the other apps because I didn't really spend too much time on them, but Twitter, oh, they were convinced that she had a whole team of people searching the archives, hitting up people's family members because she was getting baby pictures that stands of that celebrity hadn't even seen before. Well, in 2021, Kim officially joined the list of other celebrities such as Zendaya and Lizzo who had received official shoutouts from Beyonce. And this birthday shoutout comes just a few months after Kim had filed for divorce from Kanye. You see, remember when I discussed Kanye and his rants towards the Carters earlier? That was only the beginning. Over the next couple of years, his mental health would only continue to deteriorate, which led him to making some very questionable statements. This included attacking Kim and her family on social media in a number of tweets. These tweets included the infamous tweet of him comparing Kris Jenner to the North Korean dictator by labelling her Kris Jong-un. I say all of that to say, the pair were deep in a divorce by the time that Beyonce made that post for Kim's birthday. And if we're to believe what the sources have said over the years about the friendship between Kim and Beyonce, which is that there's no real friendship between the two and that Beyonce only really tolerates Kim because of her association with Kanye. So that leads me to wonder, why else would she make the post if she no longer needs to keep the peace? Following the post, we'd go back to silence. No public interaction between the two for over a year. In September of 2022, Kim K was invited to Beyonce's birthday party with her sister Chloe and longtime friend Lala Anthony. And while the details about the party of the social season was kept under wraps, what we could gauge on social media is that the party took place in Bel Air and it seemed to have a disco theme, likely taking inspiration from Beyonce's iconic Renaissance album, which was released that year, and though it was predominantly a house album, it did contain disco elements throughout, most notably on the album's closer, Summer Renaissance, which sampled Donna Summer's 1977 hit, I Feel Love. If an invite to a Queen Bee's official birthday party wasn't a confirmation that the women were on good terms, I don't know what would be. And then in 2023, Kim, Kylie and Kris, alongside other iterations of the Kardashian-Jenner clan depending on the dates, attended multiple dates of the Renaissance tour, including shows in Paris, London, like me, and in Los Angeles for her birthday show. In attending all these shows, the Kardashians were declaring their love out loud for Beyonce. It became a bit of a joke on the internet that they were actually promoting the album more than Beyonce was herself, making multiple posts on social media featuring her songs from the Renaissance album and including a hit song Cuff It for the intro of their new reality show, The Kardashians. During the show in Los Angeles, Tina Knowles and Kris Jenner were spotted hanging out, dancing and having a good time together throughout the show. And when I looked into it, it turns out the two were actually on friendlier terms than I once realised, as in 2020, Tina had a party to celebrate her birthday and who other than Miss Kris Jenner was in attendance. And I feel like, if Kris and Tina are friends, would it be far-fetched to assume that Beyonce and Kim also have a friendship? Anyway, shortly after they were spotted at the concert together, Kris would join the Carters alongside a few friends of theirs to celebrate Beyonce's birthday over Labor Day weekend. Despite Kim not being there, or any of the Kardashian-Jenner sisters, I assume if they were inviting Kris, that it goes to show that their families are on good terms. And I feel like, if you're Beyonce and you respect her mother enough to invite her to your birthday, why wouldn't you respect her daughters since they all came up in the same way? And as of writing this video, the most recent interaction between the pair happened the following month on Kim's birthday. She posted a whole bunch of videos on her Instagram stories sharing all the flowers she received for her birthday, one of which included a bouquet of flowers from Beyonce herself with a note which read, "Kim, have a beautiful birthday. Hope you're surrounded by joy. All my love, B." I think it'll be interesting to analyse whether or not the A-listers actually really did have beef. And over the years, if you look at the many speculations surrounding the source of their beef, it was that Beyonce could never truly warm to Kim. She allegedly didn't care for how vapid, shallow and fame-hungry the Kardashian was, and given Beyonce's superstar status, she was really cautious about who she would let in her circle. Many sources have stated that the two actually have tried to build a friendship multiple times over the years, but unfortunately it never truly worked out and eventually the social interactions just became too uncomfortable for Kim. And this mostly stems from her being made to feel like she wasn't good enough to be in the presence of Beyonce. And despite multiple attempts over the years from both parties to shut down any rumours that there was a feud between the two, the rumours would only continue to take on a life of their own, especially when the two seemingly missed out on significant moments in each other's lives. As for the reason why, I believe there are two major factors that play a role in this. Firstly, the media love pitting women against each other. Think Britney versus Christina, Brandy versus Monica, Katie versus Taylor, Nicki versus Kim, Remy, Cardi, Megan, take your pick. Either way, the media and the general public love to hear rumours of women in the industry feuding. It's entertainment, and considering the stereotype of women being bitchy and the diva attitude that celebrities have once they acquire a certain level of fame, it's easy to believe without much proof. And it doesn't matter if it's real or not, the people are going to believe that narrative. And given that Beyonce is Beyonce and Kim K was one of the biggest stars of the 2010s, they also happen to be married to rappers who are best friends. It's the sort of drama that people love to see in Hollywood, and it almost makes sense. Why wouldn't you see two of the biggest women in the industry in the 2010s beefing? And secondly, let's see how each woman is perceived. Beyonce is well loved by the public, Yes, there are people who dislike her, but when you reach that caliber of success, that's inevitable. Especially from 2014 onwards, when she became a lot more political and started to talk about things such as feminism and the Black Lives Matter movement more openly. Whereas Kim, on the other hand, she was a polarizing figure. People liked her, but equally people hated her just as much, seeing her as being untalented and only really being famous for being famous. So the idea of Beyonce disliking Kim, especially being in such close proximity to her, would have been a really humbling experience, people thought. People ultimately liked the idea of Beyonce being able to knock down Kim's ego, letting her know that being mediocre isn't welcomed by those at the top, and that she'll never truly fit into those circles no matter how hard she tries. Despite everybody's thoughts and feelings about whether the two actually liked each other or not, it seems as though they've been amicable over the years and been able to form some sort of friendship recently. So this led me to a different question. If them feuding wasn't the issue why they couldn't become closer in the earlier years, what was it? My theory is quite simple. I believe it was Kanye. Now let's take a second. And Kanye, if you're out there, this is just my opinion. I know you've got hitters, but if you have an issue, you can call me and we can talk this through. Remember the infamous 2009 VMAs, I'ma let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the greatest music videos of all time moment with Kanye, Beyonce and Taylor Swift? I do believe that his behaviour may have played a factor in their friendship not flourishing earlier on like it could have done. Kanye is impulsive, erratic and quite controlling. He does and says what he likes without really fearing the consequences. And I'm not saying that Beyonce dislikes Kanye at all. That's definitely not true. They've worked together over the years multiple times, and as an artist, and as someone who really respects the craft of making music, I believe that she respects him on that level because he is a genius at what he does. But personally, I feel as though he's someone who you could only really tolerate in small doses. I could see him wanting them to go on red carpets in matching outfits together, going on double dates all the time, vacationing together, and just really spending all of their time together, becoming inseparable as two of the biggest power couples in Hollywood. But as stated earlier, around the time the West got together, the Carters began to have marital issues. From as far back as Beyonce's self-titled album, she drops hints that there are issues in her marriage, and I can imagine that this played a role in them not becoming closer a lot sooner than they did. And so no, I'm not saying that Kanye played the biggest role in them not getting along sooner, but I do think he played a role in that, so I wanted to mention it just to create a bigger picture for you. And as to whether or not there was actually any feud between the women, it's hard to find any concrete evidence to support it. Unless one of the women directly come out and confirm one of these things, which I highly doubt, I believe we're never really going to get the truth about what happened between the girls. So I can't imagine we're ever going to get a true representation about the depths of their relationship. So, do I personally believe that there was any beef here? Probably not. And while I don't know these women in real life, from what I do know about them, they seem to have nice personalities. I see no actual reason in them disliking each other, and despite what the internet may think, the women have a lot more in common than they'd like to admit. They run in similar circles, and those in Hollywood typically favour those who have the same lifestyles as they do. There's a certain level of privilege, whether we care to admit it or not, that comes from having that level of status. And even if there was any tension at the start, it's evident now that they've moved past whatever issues they may have had to start with. Over the years, those barriers have begun to break down, and there's definitely some sort of friendship there now. So upon reflection and exploring this alleged beef, it does just seem to be the circumstance of women being pitted against each other because they're not becoming best friends. Because you know, it's impossible for women in the industry to just be acquaintances or social friends instead of being best friends or feuding. So to sum it up, was there ever a feud? Possibly, though very unlikely. Is there a feud now? No. Anyway, that's all we have time for today. So don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Until next time guys, goodbye everybody.